Winterberg in Germany, in the Hochsauerland, just to the east of the industrial heartland, the Ruhr Valley. It's a cold and frosty Saturday afternoon. We're ready for the second and deciding heat in the fourth race of the BMW IBSF Men's Skeleton World Cup. Welcome everybody to the European Championships. Martin Haven and John Morgan watching the action trackside. And John, after the first of our two heats, a remarkably tight field, but the top three some distance apart.
The World Cup leader from Korea, Sungbin Yun. Well, he had a little tap up there, top of the track. It cost him, and he looked like he was going to be a gold medal run, but the two Dukurs brothers came up right after him. And this is a surprise. Thomas Dukurs hasn't done that well this year, hasn't got near that podium, and here he goes. He flies down the track. He's got the lead most of the way down, and only in the bottom does he lose it by a couple hundredths of a second to this guy that's his brother. And it's unbelievable to see in a sport, Martins Dukurs and Thomas Dukurs, they're 200ths apart. Martins, the Superman, he's won 8 straight races on this track, including the World Championships in 2015. Nobody better in the sport of skeleton. I mean, he rivals anybody else's domination in any sport globally. It's unbelievable what he's done in this sport.
It really is, and look at the gap between the two of them, just 200. Sungbin Yun, Nikita Tretiakov, Christopher Grote here, last week's winner, Alexander Tretiakov. That's the battle for bronze, essentially, unless there's some unholy disaster. A tie for 11th, tie for 13th. 5 sleds now, 4 sleds behind them, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, covered by 300ths of a second. You think this isn't a tight field? Even for the last spot in the top 20, there's only 200ths in it, and we had to send 8 of our sliders home because they didn't make the top 20 cut for the second and deciding heat. It's the nature of this track. It is always so close, and to see a quarter-second gap between the top 2 and third place is almost unprecedented.
Another point we have to bring up, this is the European Championship, so there's no worry about any North Americans being up top of the leaderboard, because there's not.
Yeah, top North American is Tress of the USA. Good run to 7th place ahead of Martineau of Canada, but again, not going to feature for the European Championship medals. I beg your pardon, yeah, that's the other way around. I'm reading my start list, not my finish list. There's Martins Dukurs, Alexander Tretiakov, just trying to keep the heat in the muscles, warming up. So you're exactly right, no North Americans even in the top 10th.
Matt Antoine's the top
9th and 10th Americans, Matt Antoine, and in 10th position is Nathan Crumpton. Yeah. So we go 20 down to 1. Dave Crescession of Canada is first to go, followed by the only Austrian of 3 to make the cut, Matthias Guggenberger, Mark Aurora of Switzerland, and then on down into our top 10. There will be a lot of position changes even in that first half of the field because we've got so many athletes so close together. And then we get into Jung, Tretiakov, Grote here, Tretiakov and Yun. That's the battle for bronze. 5 sleds, and then the 2 Dukurs brothers. First slider in our second heat, as he was indeed in our first, is Canada's Dave Crescession.
Big Grizz not having a very good season to date. 11th at the opening event in Whistler, 17th, and then 23rd. Last week in Altenburg didn't make the cut, and I think that might be the first time we've ever seen him not make a cut.
Yeah, I don't recall too many chances like that where he let them slip away. He was only 200ths behind Matthias Guggenberger of Austria from the first heat. Guggy with a knee injury that seemed to buckle under him at the start.
We'll see him coming up next, but here's one of the quite a few rugby players in the field, and this is one of the thickest guys in the competition. Teacher. And he's got down on his bio, we brought this up before, we tapped it before 9. His favorite vacation place, this has to be a joke, he said North Korea. Yeah. And I asked him about it, he traveled to North Korea.
He's traveled to an awful lot of different places in his job as a teacher of English, and he said, no, North Korea is a remarkable place. Ooh. Of course, we'll be going to South Korea in just about 7 weeks from now.
There's his coach, Ivo Pakins, Latvian. Coaches the Canadian program. Of course, Canadian program has a rich history in the sport, winning gold, silver medal at the Cezana Games Torino in 2006, and of course John Montgomery's legendary gold medal in 2010 at the Vancouver Games.
And Monty, the only North American ever to medal on this track this century, I think.
And this is a big man flexing to get his hips down on that sled first. Settle before those start grooves. Get around curve 1 and don't make mistakes up top here. This is before curve 9 and that little bump there.
Well, you see the marks down the wall. Everybody hits that.
That was curve 4 to 5.
Almost everybody hits that.
Not everybody.
No. There's a couple coming up late in the run that seem to avoid it. Matthias Guggenberger, well, let's see what the Austrian can do. This right knee of his has been bugging him pretty much all season long.
We were with him Monday night, and he was telling me, or Tuesday night, he was telling me he didn't think he was going to be able to compete this weekend. He had a couple more doctors look at his knee over the last couple of days. He's got some meniscus cartilage problems, he says. And, right knee. And he stumbled to get onto the sled. Now watch him enter the sled here. He's got to push off. This is much better. That was, he might have ran one step less. But he still did the same thing. He beat the best start time by 300ths. So, with the wounded, he's still coming down the track. He's talking about he's going to have some season. He doesn't want to do season-ending knee surgery, but he thought about surgery and be out 3 or 4 weeks and be able to come back for the World Championships and play on the chunk.
Yikes. That'd be tough.
But cartilage, you can do that. 2 or 3 weeks, you can be back out.
Hopefully so. A good-looking slide. Grew up at Eagles in Austria, where we go for our penultimate World Cup race, the last before the World Championships, and that's a track that demands good aerodynamic form, and that's what he has.
Not at the moment, though. He's 15, 1600ths behind. He's
couple of little steers too many.
Yeah, his head's way up. He's not comfortable there. There it's down, but too late. He's going to lose at least one spot to his Grizz.
Yeah, well, Grizz, where did that go? Well, not one place. Pretty much everywhere. There was just...
He's 100th apart, his 2 trips.
An awful lot of extra sliding. And again, look, he just hobbling away there. That's a man in a lot of discomfort from that right
he's
knee.
had some injuries in the last 3 or 4 years. Back. He knows.
If he'd been healthy the whole time, he'd be top 6 in the world all season long.
Right knee is the problem. In the last trip, he really stumbled onto the sled. Look at the right. Yeah, he's favored it there.
Yeah.
I think he had one less step this time than last to comfortably get on that sled, and that might have had something to do with velocity, but dragging your toes like that doesn't help. And that's a quarter of a second of time he lost.
Switzerland's Marc Aurora. They call him the Quads. And for good reason. Another former sprinter turned skeleton slider.
8th best start, 5:03. Track looks a little faster, so he could get near the 5-second mark.
Well, Marco missed the cut in North America in both races. 17th last week in Altenburg.
Whoa, something wrong there.
5:11.
5:11. He lost 800ths of time from the first to second heat, so something went wrong. No consistency. Boy, if there's anything you want to be consistent on, it's your start. And you've got to have within 100th or 200ths of your start either way. And he went 800 slower. Still got green numbers, and that's related to maybe his velocity getting on the sled, but that's not good there either.
Well, his 1/10 of a second advantage from the first heat is now down to just 400ths. He started exactly the same as Chris Cheshin, and he's going to go behind.
Yeah, might go behind both sleds. Oh, he was so high on the second pressure point of Kreisel that forced him back up in the outlet, and he almost fell off the curve. And, now he's struggling for, he's got a chance for second.
1800ths behind,
Watch
second is
speed.
3300ths back. He is in second place, but he slips a spot.
900 slower.
The time of the run exactly the same as that of Matthias Guggenberger, but he survives over Guggenberger on his first round advantage. Loses out, though, to Dave Chris-Cheshin, who pulled out a good, quick second run.
Well, showed his inexperience, not being consistent in the second run at the start, but here, around curve 1, dragging his toes, drifting, comes to the left side of our screen, toe comes out again. He gets over here in curve 2 pretty good, but watch this. Now watch how he goes up, watch him come down below the runner marks, watch him come back up. He's gonna come back down. He's way in no man's land there, and now he's gotta go back up and hit the wall a couple times, and that's not how to do it.
It's where you make the steer, where you release the steering pressure that allows you to wave up and down in the right place, and there was just out. Yevgeny Rokushev, the reigning youth Olympic champion. So in the men's skeleton field, Russia with the Olympic champion and the youth Olympic champion. Rokushev, just 17 years old, won the boys skeleton competition in Lillehammer last February when Alexander Tretiakov was at the Senior Worlds in Eagles, Austria.
509, pretty consistent compared to his first run, which he had a 508. So that's what you have to do, be consistent from heat to heat in everything, how you approach this sport. But he's already lost all of his advantage. He's only down to 400s now, and it's even.
Only his 4th year on ice, started when he was just 15 years old in the build-up to the Youth Games in boys skeleton. And now he's at the top level in the Russian World Cup team. And bearing in mind the experiences, some of the athletes that have retired or been held down in the lower categories by this young kid, he clearly has lots of speed.
Well, he's going to need a lot more than he's got right here, because he's going to fall 3 places, and our Canadian friend, the Grizz, is going to pick off another athlete and move up another spot. 4th best time, 57.64, and Grizz hangs out in the leader's box for at least one more sled.
Well, look at this. I mean, Grizz, 57.11. The last 3 sleds, a 46, a 46, and a 64. So it wasn't just a good run from Grizz. It was a lot better run from Grizz.
Compared to his first heat. So he shouldn't have been back where he was. Yeah, he knows. Look, that's nice. How did you do? We saw the fingers pointing down. And look at the crossover of the hands here. That's weird. That's different. Everybody's got a different technique. People shoot foul shots different. People run differently. And, you know, here jumping on a skeleton sled's not easy. And this drift here, look at the sled. You can see the sled's not going straight down here. And he's zigzagging down that straightaway. He knows it.
You'd rather do what Grizz did, have a poor first run and improve on it, than the other way around, have a good first run and then slip away. Antoine Rambel, 16th position. He was only the 3rd man out of the start shed. And this Spaniard works for the Spanish Football Association. Brand new race suit this weekend.
Well, Anders, pretty good season. 5:16 start.
Every element of his game is getting better, with a knee surgery in the summer, though.
5:24 in the first run.
Yeah.
Boy, Anders, if you'd had that in the first run, you'd be down knocking on the top 10. But he's already lost his advantage, 200s.
Let's see if he stays in front. Still 200s in front. This is going to be very close with Kreshcheshin of Canada.
Ooh, that's high there. Then he comes up, not too badly.
Nice and smooth.
That's pretty good there, 2 to 300. So him and the Grizz are pretty equal coming down right now.
Yeah.
Anders has had a good World Cup season so far.
Best season in his career by
7th.
Some margin.
He's showing.
Very good.
He's starting to figure out how to go fast, and he's got that guy named Martin Rettel coaching him, he's got a few tricks to take. Grizz, there's Martin Rettel. Grizz is gone. And Martin Rettel knows how to cheer in that leader's box, coach's box. He's coaching about 5 of these development athletes. He's done a good job with this one right here.
And a 10th faster than Dave Kreshcheshin.
Always likes to show his excitement. He's the Spanish fan.
And Mirambel of Spain, our leader. 5 of our 20 sleds down. 15th to start in the second heat from Great Britain, Jack Thomas. His mum, his dad, his girlfriend here at the trackside. Winterberg, Germany, watching the action. They had a chance to look around the TV trucks earlier and into the booth where Martin Haven and John Morgan are watching the action with you. And Jack, development progressing at pace in this British skeleton lineup.
Good starter.
First full season in the World Cup for Jack.
5:01 start. His father's a sprint coach. We just met him. And his father coached 2 Paralympians to Olympic medals at the London Para Games in 2012.
Like Dave Swift, whose father is also very good.
Now, a little toe touch there on the exit, but boy, his 500's better. Boy, the starts have been all over the board. People have been 1000 slower, 500's better.
And then there's a little gap ahead of Ander Mirambel, 100th of a second little. He's out to 3/10 in front.
That's relative to the start here. It's so important on this slow, meandering track here in Sauerland.
The other thing that's important is not to steer too much. Had a little bit of a steer onto the Kreisel, gets a clean exit. Got to keep the speed on board.
Still losing time back. This could be close down here. He didn't have very good speed on the bottom part of the track in the first heat, and it's starting to show here.
Let's see what he's got.
Down to 6. I don't think he's going to do it. He needs 127. Doesn't have it. I think he's going to be behind.
It's going to be very close at the line. He is in the red.
Lost time all the way back. Look at Anders. Got his flag.
Anytime you pick up a spot, it's always good news. Would Jacobi disappointed to slip one? You see the Union flags down at the bottom. That's the family.
But most importantly, you can call him a development athlete, that start time, that's pretty lethal when you got to start like that. You just figure out how to get down the track clean, stop steering. Watch, this is a good athlete here. Look at the technique. Look at them use a sprint technique. Now watch him see his athleticism getting on the sled. Everybody does it different. Boy, that's one of the best power steps onto the sled. Lands with his hips.
Swallow drive with the chest
but watch
onto
his
the
toe
sled.
come out here.
Yeah.
This cost him quite a bit of time. That threw away that great start time with that toe touch right there.
High five to Ander Mirambel. Jack Thomas in second spot. Thank you for the cake anyway, Jack. We say nice things whether you bring cake or not. Kyle Tress of the USA, 13th spot after the first heat, and a good-looking first run from Kyle. And he's in a very tight battle, tied with Barrett Martineau of Canada. 1400s ahead of our current leader, Ander Mirambel, and 1400s behind the next group in front of them.
It's a self-taught web and iOS developer. Sounds like another guy too smart to be in the sport.
There's far too many that are too smart to do this, but it's just the adrenaline that brings them back.
Had a great, spectacular first heat with the 21st best start time, rocketed down to this position. Best heat of the year for Kyle Tress. Now he's got a start deficiency, and if he does what he did in the first heat, he could still overcome that with great lines down here. Boy, he's got rid of the start deficiency, and he's a rocket right now.
Building the gap nicely. 10th ahead when he lay down. 2300s is now out to 2400s of a second.
20th, 19th, and 25th in the first 3 events of the year. This will be his best finish of the season for Kyle Tress. Maybe one of his best heats of his career.
Really nice looking controlled run. Little low line in the final corner, but he doesn't hit the wall. 57.15. Well, only Ander Mirambel's 57.10 and Dave Kreszczeshin 57.11 have been faster in this second heat, but Kyle's first.
13th place,
counts.
Worst case scenario. He's happy with that, you can tell. There's Zach Lund, former coach. Kyle, best heat of the year. Congratulations. You can see how steep it is when they're walking down, where they're coming from, that finish area. Here's up top of the track where the speeds are slow, and you have to be so precise. Head down, just inching himself over onto the curve here in the finish. He lost some time here in the finish, but look at his head. His chin is a couple inches off the ice at 79 miles an hour. Through and down, he's the leader. Best heat of his career.
Yep, and he takes the lead away from Ander Mirambel. Kyle Tress into the leader's box, getting his jacket. Canada's Barrett Martineau tied in the first heat for 13 spots with Kyle Tress. Since Martineau set the time, Tress went first. Martineau now has to try and either tie or beat our current leader.
Could get a better start than Kyle. 5:08 in the first run. He improves 5:05, and I like that exit of curve 1. Speed 62.9. Keep your eyes on that speed if you want to do some box score counting here in the sport. That speed there has so much to do with how much time you can win or lose the top of this track.
One top 10 finish in North America at the beginning of the season. He was 8th last week in Altenburg. He was 17th last year in Winterberg.
Yeah, he seems to be improving, but he's lost time back here. He's down to single digits. Kyle Tress didn't have a good bottom part of the track, so he's got a chance. Right now, he's still got the lead.
Well, they were tied to the 100th of a second. That was a very uncomfortable exit.
He's got better speed than Kyle Tress. This should be the leader.
Might tie again, but Martineau takes it.
Better speed in the bottom, Kyle.
That was the best run of this second heat so far. 57.02 would have left him in 9th place in heat 1.
We got
not tied 13th.
We got a faster track here.
Yes, we do.
So the Bear.
Well, he was stoked after the first run, wasn't he? Look at him now.
He's had 2 good weeks on these German tracks.
Yeah. Is he applying for citizenship? What's going on with that?
Well, look at his head down. This is where he made it up. He was down to 400s here, and down the bottom part of the track, the labyrinth. Look at his head down, 79 miles an hour. Crossover, take on from right to left. That was all how he did it.
Left big marks in the ice behind him to get that steer, but it put him in the leader's box. 12 sleds to come here in Winterberg, Germany. Tied for 11th, ahead of a tie for 13th by 600ths of a second. Rhys Thornbury of New Zealand. He tied with Great Britain's Don Parsons. And they were 600ths ahead of the tie between Kyle Tress and Barrett Martineau. It's Martineau, the Canadian, who currently leads. And Rhys Thornbury, under the tutelage of Martin Rettel, improving and improving.
Like Mirabelle.
Yeah.
Well, let's see, he gets around that first curve pretty good.
Well, this is what you'd refer to as his sophomore season, John. His second full career year in World Cup racing, and it's really showing the extra time on ice.
You know, we asked for some bio information from the athletes, and they write down favorite music, favorite vacation, favorite artist, favorite athlete. Well, I'm surprised to read his favorite band. You think it's heavy metal, something like that? Taylor Swift.
Well, you know,
he's the only guy
she's easy on the eye.
Well, it's the only guy in the field that I think chose Taylor Swift.
100th up to a 10th of a second in front of Barrett Martineau. So adding to that 600s from the first heat. And he'll have doubled it and more before he gets to the line.
He's flying on the bottom.
Really is.
Boy, this Martin Rettel starting to develop some of these athletes, because him, Thornbury and Mirabelle are posting their best finishes. There's Rettel. He knows it. Now, of course, these guys are finally figuring out how to slide, and Martin Rettel is teaching them the tricks of the trade.
There you go.
With the equipment and rocking the runners and how to take care of things. And, you know, so it's a little different world when you got some Olympic silver medalist like he was helping him out.
And it's not just trying to figure it out for yourself anymore. They've got video to watch and analysis to listen to.
Wasn't a great entry onto the sled, but he had good lines. Look at how positive he is. He's a big man. Look at his feet. And he's right in the middle of those lines. Gets a little high there. See if it costs him coming out of this. He flops off there a little bit. Not bad. A little late there. But bottom part of the track, good speeds.
Hey everybody. Happy with that. Come on.
Rhys Thornbury from New Zealand. Tied for 11th in the first of our 2 heats in Winterberg, Germany. Don Parsons of Great Britain. The current leader is the man with whom he was tied, New Zealand's Rhys Thornbury. That's why the advantage shown there is 0.00 seconds. We could not separate them.
Yeah, I'm not impressed with the fact that Dom is back here in this position. You know, this is an experienced slider. Start 5:09, couple hundredths better. Little bit of a drift off that exit.
But again, in the first heat, his start was only 15th fastest. We're used to seeing him in the top 4 or 5. He doesn't have the power
start that he used
at
to
the
have.
moment. Yeah, still not completely healthy.
One of the taller guys in the field. Him and Matt Antoine coming up. They're a couple bookends.
Look at the way the shoulders are pressed right down onto the sled, almost hunching
He's
your
only
back.
500ths ahead. He should be more than that with the start advantage.
It's come down from 900ths to 500ths. This is going to be close down to 300ths of a second.
Thornbury was really flying on the bottom part of the track. Great speed. And
a couple of corners left for Don Parsons.
He's going to need it. It's dead heat now. Down to 100. He's lost by 100. Doesn't have the same speed as Thornbury, so he's going to drop off at least one.
Rhys Thornbury leads.
300ths. Rhys, that might be his best finish ever. What did Rhys finish last week? You got to look to the Bucks. He finished 11th last week, so he's not there yet.
Not there yet.
Close.
He is leading with 10 to go.
Tied his personal best.
Yeah, so far, we're still only halfway through the heat. Don Parsons slips.
Look at the toe was
here.
out there too. You see his toe was out, and that was a drift over to the left side. You want to come straight down there. This, he corrected it well, but boy, that little zero curve, chink curve, that causes a lot of problems.
There's the view of Winterberg in Germany's Hochsauerland. Reese Thornbury leads from Don Parsons of Great Britain. 10 sleds down, 10 still to come. Not too many days here, John Morgan, you get to see how many rows of hills there are away in what they call, we call occasionally the Dutch Alps, because the number of skiers that come here from the Netherlands, and you'll see certainly when the women are in skeleton and bobsleigh that there are an awful lot of Belgians in town as well. There's our current race leader, wearing the logo of the Royal Air Force skeleton team. He works at Bryce Norton in Oxfordshire. Now he remembers he had to look down because last week he was trying to give them props and went to the wrong breast pocket. There's Jacqueline Lurling. She'll be racing in the women's competition tomorrow. And a lot of the girls will be racing tomorrow morning. In fact, all the girls will be racing in women's skeleton tomorrow morning. A few of them out to watch the action. There's Barrett Martineau, currently lying in 3rd place. You know, all the athletes are really accommodating to us. They spend time talking. They're very forthcoming with information about, you know, what's going on in the sport, what's going on with them. But they are to each other as well, because in this sport, there is no one who can affect your race. It's only you. It's you against the ice and the clock, and they're all in the same position. It's like their teammates. They just happen to set at different times.
Yeah, and there's you know, the whole thing about personal best, and then there's a race within a race, you know, against teammates. Who wants to emerge as USA won or Russia won or Germany won? So there's a lot of strategy in the race. I mean, there's a beautiful camaraderie in this sport amongst the athletes. But when it comes down to that 55 seconds or so that you're coming down the track, there's a little different instinct there. That's when they take that camaraderie and throw it out the window, and it turns into an extreme sport where they're really competing against each other.
But there is genuine affection. There's genuine pleasure as well for your rivals and your colleagues, your friends, when they do well, because you know today might be their day, tomorrow might be yours. Winterberg in Germany, round 4 of the BMW IBSF Men's Skeleton World Cup. Second and deciding heat, we're into the fast 10. Nathan Crumpton of the USA is the second of our US sliders in the 10th after the first heat.
Very important run for Nathan. He's in 12th in World Cup points coming into this race. He needs to get into the top 10 before the World Championships. That's his goal. So if he finishes here 9th or 10th place, he will move up in the World Cup standings.
Well, he is just ahead of Reese Thornbury of New Zealand, our current leader in the overall rankings. And he had a little advantage in the first heat at 0.04 of a second. Now it's out to 24 hundredths.
Yeah, 300's better to start. This is one of the most successful long and triple jumpers out of Princeton University. And this guy has got a real methodical approach to the sport. Talking the other day at breakfast. And his favorite athlete, Jesse Owens.
14th, 11th and 10th so far this season. 10th after the first heat here, and he's 1600ths up. Gap is coming down a little.
Yeah, doesn't have that experience down the track. Reese Thornbury was a flyer down here. This is going to be close.
Crumpton has the lead by a 10th.
So he's mission accomplished. He's improved. He's going to do a top 10.
And a second top 10 in a row. Didn't get a top 10 in North America, which you might expect.
Tracks, yeah, so you know, he's not as familiar with these tracks over here. So this Princeton guy that might be a little too smart to be in the sport, another one of them guys. Boy, hearing him talk about the approach, the velocity to start the other day morning at breakfast, he stays in the sport. He might rewrite some techniques, how they approach the sport scientifically, because pretty smart guy. And once he figures out the lines down the track, he won't lose time like he did from the exit of 9 down. And he'll use that start because he's a good athlete, that's for sure.
He's got the right physique as well. Long, rangy, explosive triple jumpers power.
Talking about hips and movement, it was too much for me.
Well, here's another long, rangy athlete. This is Matt Antoine, originally from Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin. Now lives down in Arizona, where he spent the last 2 summers remodeling a house. He says, it's great going home. Every time feels like a holiday. It's so hot and sunny. I can relate to that. There's pretty much nobody whose favorite holiday location is cold.
0.8 better than his teammate at the bottom, Nathan Crumpton.
He's going to give away all of that and more at the start.
He's going to be immediately in red numbers. He's probably going to have a 15 start or so. 17 in the first round, 12. Hey, he proved a lot, and he gets through the chink curve with not too much damage. Now, he's going to stay red numbers at least probably to Kreisel. Then he's got a chance, Exeter Kreisel, to use his experience of coming down the track. He's been down the track probably about 6 times more than Nathan Crumpton. Antoine, the bronze medalist from the 2014 games. Here he comes. Only 500s back now. Look at the long, lean form of Matt Antoine, one of the taller guys in the competition. And he's got green numbers now.
Takes a long time to find the form back here, the pace back here in Winterberg.
Perfect speed part of the track. Now he wants to achieve a high 128 speed here to have a chance to move up. Low 128, he'll be the leader. Don't know how many spots he's gonna move up with this though. 56.75. Boy, he's 2,700s better in the second run, the first run.
Yep.
Track's getting faster because a lot of people are going faster in their first run. Usually it's the other way around.
Well, maybe we need to do a few more afternoon into the evening races where the temperature remains constant, allows the ice to polish up a little.
Long and lean, and see how athletic he is getting on the sled. Which hits first? The knee? Yeah, the knee. I'm favor you got to hit the hips. You know, you got to jump out there with that power step. But around the first curve, he wasn't comfortable there in that take-on. I think he got away with that. Boy, good ride down the bottom part of the track. He showed why he won a bronze medal in Sochi just a couple years ago.
USA 1-2, 8 to go here in Winterberg in Germany. All three German athletes coming up shortly. This is the first of Alexander Gassner. Gassner returning to World Cup action after a couple of seasons on the lower categories. This is his home track. His title sponsor, Veltins, is also the local brewery. They sponsor this Veltins Ice Arena in Winterberg.
He's pretty thick from the hips down. Good starter.
1500s ahead of Antoine from the first heat, and a 5:04 start just adds to that advantage.
63.4, that's one of the better speeds we've seen from anybody, and boy, for keeping the box score stats.
That's 60
Keep track
meters,
of that one.
60 meters from a standing start. They're doing nearly 40 miles an hour. And we say this is a slow accelerating track.
Good crossover, 3800s. Nice line. See if he stays in the middle of the curve here. Yeah, very quiet steering. He came around there perfectly. Should 3800s.
Wow.
Could grow.
Alexander Gassner could move up fast here. He was 2700s behind his teammate Axel Jung.
Magic number for speed for him is going to be mid 128s to have a chance to move up. He's got that high good. 128s.
80 miles an hour into the finish corner.
58.61. He's another guy that went quarter second faster. Jens Müller, the coach. Boy, the Germans, they finished 1, 2, 3 in men's and women's skeleton at the B Tour, which is in St. Moritz this past weekend. The German skeleton program is on a high profile up.
Yes, it is. It's been a while. Last year, Axel Jung took a silver medal.
Good line. I mean, this is perfect. Look, you can see he's right in the middle of all the other lines. Quietly steered off the curve. Got over to the crossover just as you wanted it.
Well, Gassner is the only German slider in the field today who hasn't had a medal on this track. Axel Jung, silver medalist, tied to the 100 with Alexander Tretiakov in last year's race in Winterberg. And he left his home track, Altenburg, last weekend, still with this back injury.
Yeah, he's been limping around. 5:01 start, though. Bad back and all. 5th best start, 5:01. Everybody else got faster. Let's see if he can get under 5. 4:98. Mission accomplished. Not bad out of the chink curve. Now he traverses down the track. I don't think he's worried about his teammate at the bottom. He's got a quarter-second lead on him. He's worried about the next 6, 7 sleds coming behind him. This is the European Championships, and he wants to move up.
Yeah, he'd like to be in the medals for sure. Bronze medal last week.
We don't know as much about the European Championships, but in Europe, at all sports, it's a big deal.
Well, 498 start is a big improvement for him, gets him sub-5, which is a big mental barrier.
He's pulling away
and look
here.
at this, yeah, really accelerating
Speed.
away.
He had great speed.
So we're going to be into the mid-80
wow.
miles or so. Oh no, 79.9.
128.6.
Little quicker was Gassner, but Jung 0.6 faster, 56.29.
3100s. Jens Mueller knows.
Listen, that would have left him third in the first heat by 1100s ahead of Sungbin Yun.
The last 4 guys have all been down 30 hundredths better than their first run. And I think the temperature, it's not getting warmer out right now.
That's for sure.
There could be a temperature change by a degree by the time the last sled comes down here in the next 15 minutes. Look at these lines, down the speed. Look at his head bouncing. That's the G-forces. You think they're having a good time out there?
Big smile from Axel Jung.
They do such a great job here in Winterberg.
Yeah.
Brand new start, or a finished building right there we saw, constructed over the summer.
Well, here's the man whom Axel Jung tied for the silver medal with in last year's World Cup race in Winterberg. Alexander Tretiakov, the Russian rocket, 900ths of a second only in front of Jung. And Jung went some nearly 4 tenths, no, 3 tenths better. So Tretiakov needs to find something impressive here.
487 in the first run, should be 485. Everybody's faster. 42, but he had problems in the first run there. Look at him again. That skid again at the exit of this chink curve or zero curve. And, you know, that sort of negates that unbelievable start that we get from the Russian rocket. Didn't compete last weekend in Altenburg, and we don't even want to get into those details.
100th in front of Jung from the first heat, plus 1600ths faster at the start, gave him 1700ths advantage.
27 down to 2400s. He lost a lot of time in the first heat in the bottom part of the track.
Working hard here, you can see the hips moving and
down
the feet.
to 18.
Should have enough in the tank to get to the line, out of the labyrinth.
Next clock, down to 17. This should be enough. I don't know if it's enough to move him up today, but it's enough to take the lead at this moment.
Hangs
18.
on in front of Axel Jung, 56.20.
Yeah, he 3/10 better.
Yeah.
Last 4 or 5 sleds down.
And that's 400ths slower than the second place man, Thomas Dukurs, 600ths off the leader's time from the first heat, Martin Dukurs.
Tretiakov, last time he competed in Lake Placid, he won the event. Oh, there's a fan down there. Here's the problem, though. Look at late on the curve one. Watch the sled. It's not coming straight at us. We're seeing the front and back runners there. Look at that skid. You don't think that's much up where you're only going 35 miles an hour? That's a lot.
So Alexander Tretiakov takes the lead from Axel Jung, and there are 5 to come here in Winterberg. 5 men left in the race in Winterberg, Germany. Martin Haven, John Morgan watching the action for you. Alexander Tretiakov, who won in Lake Placid, is our leader currently. Christopher Grote here, who won last week for the first time in his career in the World Cup. He won the gold medal in Altenburg in Germany. Now looking for a medal in these European Championships.
He's from Oberhof. The other 2 guys are from, one here from the Winterberg area. Axel Jung's from Saxony, down in Dresden. 5 flat, that's a much improved start time. 600's better, and he had a pretty good negotiation exit of curve 1. Red numbers, of course, that's because the Russian rocket had posted a 4:82 start time. He's 2100s behind. Tretiakov was not that good down the track. Grote here probably has got way more trips down the track, especially this year, than Tretiakov, and he could catch him.
Daps down to 1800s as he gets to the Kreisel. Good, clean exit, no skids, no hip
Down
shifting.
14. Tretiakov wasn't free down here.
Tretiakov didn't look pleased on the podium. I think he thinks he's vulnerable.
High 128 here, he's got a chance. 129.5.
Wow, what speed.
He could take the lead here. Could do it.
Oh,
no. Still the best speed by anybody. Bottom part of the track, but he ran out of track.
Yep.
He needed 20 more meters.
900ths of a second slower on that run than Alexander Tretiakov. He had 200s in hand, so he loses by 700s.
Tretiakov beat him by 38 hundredths in 2 heats at the start.
Yep, and he loses by 700s in total.
At the bottom.
Well, not overjoyed, Christopher Grote here, but good corner zero.
You didn't see too much of those runners. It's pretty good. Improved his start by 600ths. Boy, there's been a lot of disparity from the first to second each starts from a lot of the athletes in the field. Usually everybody has to have the same number. Good lines on the bottom. Good speed, great speed.
Tretiakov the leader. There's Christopher Grote here, slips one into second place with 4 to go. Going to have a Russian leader at the end of this run in Winterberg because Alexander Tretiakov, 34 years old, leads for Russia. The Olympic champion, Nikita Tregyabov, 24 years old. The pretender is next up on the start blocks. Behind him remain 3 athletes.
Okay, this is the junior Russian rocket. He's 22 years old, former junior world champion.
See the little steer with the toe to drag him into corner zero again.
Couple hundredths better, but
like the first heat, big skid of zero.
Not good there, and he had to take too much of this Omega curve. Came in on the wrong side of it. Now he's way behind. That's a lot to do with the start. He had pretty good lines in the bottom part of the track. Next 4 sleds, Russia, Korea, Latvia, and Latvia. We're on a German track. Doesn't that seem strange?
Well,
doesn't that seem strange?
At the moment, Russia leads, Germany second and third. Nikita Tregyabov is going to drop, I think, behind both Germans at the moment. He's in danger of falling.
Right there, a couple spots back.
He'll fall behind Axel Jung. Alexander Gassner in 4th is 77 hundredths away from the lead, so he's safe from that.
Doesn't have the speed on the bottom either. He's going to fall at least 2 spots.
Oh, hits the wall. 56.45, only the 4th fastest run.
Yeah,
and
but
he
this
drops
is
3 spots.
This is the future. You could see this guy for a couple more Olympics right here. At least in Pyeongchang next year. He's not happy.
No, nobody likes losing ground, and he felt it all the way, I think. Those skids out of little zero, corner 1, 2.
Yeah. This didn't help either. Look at his head up. Look at he's on the wrong side of the curve. Look, he's way over on the wrong side. Now watch him come into the curve. They show it. He gets to go into the middle of the next curve and steer too hard. And look at his toes are out here too. You know, he's not comfortable all the way down the track in that run.
So the young pretender is in 3rd place. The Olympic champion still leads. Final 3 sleds in race 4 of the BMW IBSF Men's Skeleton World Cup. Yellow vest is our points leader, Sungbin Yun of Korea. Young man who won the season opener, took bronze in the 2nd race in Lake Placid, off the podium last week in Altenburg, Germany.
Check out his quads. This is some powerful man who slips onto the sled, and he'll post a 488, 490. Whoa,
498.
10 hundredths slower.
Yeah.
Something wrong there. That is really going to affect his ability to catch Tretiakov on the bottom.
Tretiakov, the leader, went 500ths faster. Yun went 10 hundredths slower, so 1500ths deficit.
Yeah,
he was only 11 hundredths in front.
Wow, very surprised. He went from the 2nd best start time to the 4th already in this heat. So see if he can overcome this deficiency. Right now he's in 3rd.
Fastest starter in training with some blazing training runs. Here we go.
Got it down to 15.
Is there enough ice left?
Iron Man, they call him. Gonna need 129 speed down here. He's got it down to 11.
Good
He's
exit.
got the 129 speed. Not enough. Single digits. 13.
Oh, wow.
Drops 2 places. So Tretiakov.
What did Tretiakov find in the final corner?
Tretiakov right now is the bronze medal in the European Championship.
Yes, he is. Alexander Tretiakov leads.
Sungbin Yun, I'm surprised at that.
Tretiakov's never won on this track, but he has not been off the podium since 2008.
His deficiency was at the start. What went wrong here? Look at the sideways angle that he gets out of the sled. Boy, his feet are way outside those drive lines, pushing on an angle across the track. I don't like that technique. Here, look at his foot was out on the take-on to curve 1. Boy, not only did he have a bad start, he had a bad entry and exit of curve 1.
Well, didn't find the pace he needed. Will he surrender the yellow jersey? He might just do, because the 2 remaining athletes include the man who is 2nd in points. But first, his brother. Now, Alexander Tretiakov, our current leader, was 37 hundredths off the lead from the first heat. The remaining two athletes were separated by 2 hundredths. Thomas Dukurs goes first, Brother Martins will follow.
5:01, first run. 5:04. But look at the exit of the zero curve. Pretty quiet. He's going to need it.
Well, he had a stunning run in the first heat.
Run. He was the best athlete down the track if they took away the start times. Nobody had better speed than this 6'3", 6'2" Latvian.
It's 3 years since the brothers went 1-2 on this track.
They've done it before.
Yeah.
I mean, his brothers won 8 straight years. There's a good chance he's medaled a couple times. Quiet lines. Green numbers, it's close. Red, it's 100th either way. 300s now. But this is where Thomas Dukurs was one of the best in the field on the speed part of the track.
It's where he found all his pace on his brother. He only lost
600s.
it in the final corner. Not as fast.
The speed, not the good speed that we saw.
Can he take Tretiakov at the line? Just silver medal guaranteed in the European Championships.
With a little excitement for us at the finish.
So we will have a Dukurs winning.
Not only a Dukurs winning, a Latvian winning and a Dukurs winning.
Yeah.
That's his father.
Well, in skeleton, a Latvian and a Dukurs are synonymous. They are the same thing, but you have a choice of two.
This one's a little taller than the one coming up.
A little taller, a little older.
Quiet entry onto the sled. Look at the hands. Let's see if he lands with his hips or one of his legs. Looks like his hips came down, maybe his quads. Look at the lean, tall, lean guy. Here in the finish, though, down, way up on the exit. Look at, and then down again, then way up on the exit. He lost some time down here, and he paid the price. Skidding on his shoulder across the electric eye, intact and finish, and good for our highlight reel.
Hauls himself back on the sled and then into the leader's box. Martins Dukurs is the last to come. World champion on this track in 2015. One of 8 straight wins in Winterberg. This might as well be renamed Sigulda, frankly.
Well, no mistakes at the start allowed. 490.
Wow,
97
what a
in the first run. We were very surprised and critical of his 497 posting. He's usually down within 6-7 hundredths of Tretiakov, and here he is. I mean, 490. He's got a huge lead. It's his race to lose. And Martin, he's won 8 straight times on this track.
What is he doing? How is he half a second ahead of the brother who was 200s behind him? How can that be happening?
He had a bad first half of the year because he was tested equipment in the first 4 World Cups. This is the European Championships. He put all the tests away, put the good runners on, and does what he does like no athlete in this sport has ever done.
This is just ridiculous. He's going to win by over 0.6 of a second when his brother was 200s behind him in the first heat.
55.90. You know, this is what we expected out of the first 3 or 4 weeks of the World Cup. He was testing runners, crashing out of the finish curve in Lake Placid to finish 5th. Look at him now.
First win of the season.
Won't be the last.
When we went to Altenburg, it had been 7 straight seasons since he had not won for 3 races in a row. I don't know what it is, since he hadn't won for 4 races in a row, ever, possibly. There's Ivo Ferriani, the president of the IBSF. And everybody offering their congratulations to a runaway winner.
Statement. That guy just made a statement to the rest of the field. I'm done testing. The pre-Olympic season is upon us. I plan to win them all. And he could run the table. He could. This guy, he's won here now. 9 straight years he's won on this track. Well, if you had the World Championships in 2015.
If you hadn't said that, I'd say 4th race of the season, 4 different winners. It's wide open. No, he just slammed the door shut. Okay, guys, forget it.
Rest of the year, rest of the season, you're all going for silver.
Forget it. Wow, what a win from Martins Dukurs. Brother Thomas in 2nd. Alexander Tretiakov raced up from whatever he was, 7th and 6th in the first heat to 3rd in the European Championships ahead of Christopher Grote here. Nikita Tregibov and Axel Jung round out the top half dozen in the European Championship medal positions.
Well,
I'm at a loss.
Superman.
Yeah.
I mean, how can the guy do? I mean, we saw him in Lake Placid. Hit the lip in the finish curve, flip upside down, come across the finish curve on his back, finishes 5th. But we all knew he was tested equipment. And
see, but even here, I'd be happy if his first heat was random and rubbish. His first heat was brilliant.
Yeah.
How can he be 6/10 brillianter?
Well,
How can he find that much more in a track that gives nothing up?
he was very conservative at the start. 700s better in the second run. Yeah. That's a lot, but boy, he rocketed. He blew everybody away. It was ridiculous.
It's like he found another gear that he hasn't had this season.
Yeah, well, no, like he's had in past years.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's a special athlete in a, you know, what I call an extreme sport with an Olympic theme, and wow,
Well, we're certainly living through a golden era of sliding, aren't we? So many fabulous athletes. This sport gets more competitive with the week, and yet...
Dukurs, remember, in 2010, was the last man down in the Vancouver Olympic competition, and he fell to second behind John Montgomery. In the 2014 games in Sochi, he finished second to hometown Alexander Tretiakov.
Yep.
Now Sungbin Yun, his Korean counterpart, who is one of the best on tour, the World Cup leader. You could be interested to see the World Cup points come up here. But, you know, Dukurs could launch himself into the World Cup title before the season's out.
Yun had 609, Martin's 586, which is 23 points difference.
He's going to do it.
Is the new World Cup points leader and the European champion. Wow. Big day for Martins Dukurs. Confirmation of our European Championship gold medalist, Martins Dukurs. Silver for brother Thomas. And Alexander Tretiakov takes the bronze medal. Christopher Grote, Nikita Tregebov and Axel Jung round out the top half dozen. Those are the rest of the European Championship medal finishers. So 2 top 10 finishes for Team Great Britain.
Well, Martins Dukurs of Latvia. He's been tested equipment. First 4 events of the season. He sort of gave the rest of the field a chance to beat him. Well, today, he decided to tease the field in the first heat with an average start time. In the second run, posted the second best start and just blew the rest of the field away to say, I'm back on track and I might try and sweep the rest of the season. I think he's got a chance.
He is such a cool, calm and collected customer and just lets that emotion explode at the end. He takes the lead of the World Cup from Sungbin Yun. Christopher Grote here of Germany moves up to 3rd place ahead of Axel Jung. Matt Antoine from 3rd down to 5th position. And a disappointing 9th place here for the American slider. Jack Thomas in 18th. Ander Mirambel 14th. Rhys Thornbury 13th. The brain trust at Team Rettel is doing very well, thank you. And Mark Aurora of Switzerland rounds out the top 20 in the World Cup standings. Latvian 1-2 and Russian 3rd place. The Olympic champion takes the bronze medal in the Europeans. Silver goes to Thomas Dukurs. And the gold medal goes to the man with all the flags, the helmets, and now the flowers, Martins Dukurs, his first win of the season. Silver last week in Altenburg. 4th and 5th in the opening 2 races of the season in North America. Lots and lots of testing done there and over the Christmas New Year break. And it does appear as though the Dukurs trio, Martins, Thomas and Father Dennis, who builds the sleds, have really found a winning formula. Well, that's it. We're at the halfway stage of the Men's Skeleton World Cup. In a week from now, we'll be at the greatest track of them all in St. Moritz in Switzerland. Join me, Martin Haven, John Morgan, and the rest of the team for all the action in Switzerland. We'll see you then. Bye for now.